are, another edition of Business Bites, and today we're joined by a gentleman named David Hartman. Uh, David is the founder, owner, CEO, chief grand poobah of a company called the Silver Logic. Welcome, David. Glad to talk to you today. Maybe we can start out with a little bit of an introduction and kind of a who is David Hartman and how did we get to this point in time today? Just kind of give us an overview. And maybe tell us a little bit about what the Silver Logic is, what type of business it is.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks so much for having me, Keith. And yeah, pleasure to be here. So I'll go back a little bit. I'll do first. The Logic, we're a software engineering firm. We build custom software focused on business process automation and AI. So really the goal is obliterate all those spreadsheets and manual data entry and get rid of all the not so fun work and admin work that people get really busy with instead of doing what they're really passionate about.
Mm-hmm.
Helping people get back to those tasks that they really enjoy and freeing them up for that. And yeah, we've been doing that for next month. It will be 13 years. So it's been a hot minute. Been a very fun journey. We're around 70 people in the team right now. And I started it in my somewhere sophomore, junior year in college, just after I won a green card in the green card lottery. So it's been a very
Where
fun
did
journey.
where did you go to school?
I went to Florida Atlantic University right down here in South Florida.
Mm-hmm.
I am originally from Germany, so I
Mm-hmm.
did a little foreign exchange year and decided I really like it
Very
here.
nice. You can
Let's
probably tell from the name Swingle, German. We got that going for my family. Actually, in Germany, my family was the inventor of the barn house. Right? You
Oh,
sleep. Yeah, you sleep with your cows. You stay warm in the winter. Now we didn't smell the best, but we were warm in the winter, right? So there you go. Little
that's
German connection, man. All
that's
right,
awesome. That's
cool.
awesome. Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah, so it's been a fun journey to migrate over here, do a foreign exchange study,
Mhm,
and then decide, hey, I really like it here. Let me stick around.
mhm,
And as I was sticking around doing my bachelor's, I decided, hey, this is maybe I'm doing this for as freelance work for a couple companies here and there, for a couple clients here and there. Let me formalize this a little bit more. Got together with two buddies and we started out the Zero Logic.
mhm.
And then it's been a fun journey since then,
Yeah.
just building it up, growing it, and helping many, many companies get back to what they're passionate about, getting obliterating many spreadsheets.
Right. So at the genesis, the beginning of Silver Logic, I guess what 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 started it? I mean, did someone come to you and just say, "Hey, can you help us, not use so many spreadsheets," or what was the catalyst to start at the beginning of Silver Logic?
So I've always been very passionate about building software, and in the very beginning, it was more building little websites. I started doing that when I was in fifth grade, so I've been doing that for a while, and decided, okay, yep, there's more people that just want that, and then I took a really pivotal class in college for iOS programming. So on back then it was the iPhone 3GS. So it's been a hot minute
Right,
since
right.
what do we
Well,
have?
today, the 10th of September is the release of the 17, right? I
Yep.
think the iPhone 10. So yeah, it's been a while. Oh, okay.
Yeah, been a
Nice.
couple versions.
Yeah, a couple
So,
versions.
yep, since then, yeah, so early on, got into that, which was really helpful because back then, not many people were around that made apps.
Right,
So that
right.
was really early on, put us a little bit on the map in the market. And from there, we eventually went more and more towards building not just websites, but entire solutions, like especially with getting into apps.
Hmm.
Doing that, be it for an app, an iOS or Android app, as well as for a web platform so that we pivoted more towards platforms. And one interesting moment for me was my mom has a party supply online
Hmm.
store and business. Like she
Hmm.
has a lot of fulfillment by Amazon and sells online, has a whole store in Germany. But there, one thing that she was doing every Saturday would be, or frequently on Saturday, would be syncing up inventory. And she would download a spreadsheet from Amazon and then have her inventory spreadsheet and try and make them.
Hmm.
be in sync and
Right.
copy and paste things from one to another. And I was like, goodness, mom, you're spending many, many hours there. Let me see if I can help. And so it took me probably half an hour to an hour. Wrote a little Python script and automated. It took a couple seconds and it would spit out the updated spreadsheet.
Hmm.
So that was pretty mind-boggling for her. And I
Right.
realized, hey, if it's not my mom, I can probably charge them some good money for this.
Right.
Because if I can help them save 8 hours a week, then that has significant value. So that introduced us to also do a lot more automation and get into not just building out startups and ideas, but really getting into, look, we can help make this more efficient. And
Hmm.
by doing so, really helping people. And one beautiful thing that I saw with that that really inspired me was that the time from initial build out to ROI is so much shorter because
Right.
there it can be almost immediate if it just gets into the hands of people.
Hmm. How did you go from a couple of guys who were schoolmates to seven? Did you say 70 people?
Yes,
I mean,
yes.
that's pretty impressive. I mean, yeah, that's pretty good. How did you grow to that size of an organization? What types of
Yeah, it's been
clientele did you have? It must be, yeah, I mean, that's a great story.
Yeah, it's been a lot of organic growth.
Hmm.
Just over time, a lot of our clients are very long-term clients because they
Hmm.
taste it and see, cool, I can automate this piece. It saves me money. What's next? What's next? What's next? And then always building on top of that in order to get to the next levels.
Hmm.
And in addition to that, it's just, yeah, we just got for the sixth year in a row the Inc. 5000 fastest growing company. So it's
Oh,
been it's
huh,
been a very fun journey.
that's awesome.
And yeah, a lot is the word of mouth and good referrals and building those
Hmm.
lasting relationships with clients.
Hmm.
And only last October, we decided to, hey, we should probably do some sales and actually start building a sales team because in order to keep up the same percentage of growth year over year, it was just getting a little bit too big for it being serendipitous and word of
Hmm.
mouth only and by me being at events only.
Hmm.
So that's been a fun journey or
Hmm.
fun new chapter to be exploring that, to build out marketing and sales for the first time
Hmm.
in so many
Hmm.
years over the last couple months.
So when you're talking about kind of this business simplification, kind of helping with business process flows and those types of things, are you building out the whole and creating the whole process flow from a software perspective, or are you using other tools and connecting them? What are you guys doing? Building the whole flow, or are you using tools as intermediaries between other tools? How would you describe that?
Yeah, a lot of our work is this. I start my entry with we do custom software, so a lot of it
Hmm.
is we build out whatever it is that we need. And that's for a couple of reasons. For one, folks, there's many others that will implement a Salesforce or a NetSuite or some of the other tools. And there are times when we build inside of NetSuite or on top of NetSuite or alongside of NetSuite
Hmm.
or Salesforce or any of other ERPs and CRMs out there.
So you'll
Uh,
grab on the hooks and you can integrate with those tools. The, the
yeah,
the things that you're creating can integrate with those other tools using the hooks that they provide.
exactly. And a
Okay.
preferred method for us, instead of building inside of it, where you're vendor locked,
Hmm.
is we build alongside it so that it
Yep.
can hook into it. But now the specialty is that, okay, this can do all the custom logic that the business needs and that's unique to the business. And if they one day decide they don't no longer want Salesforce, but they're switching to NetSuite or they're switching, they have some like a little QuickBooks and Salesforce, and now they want to go all in on NetSuite, use all of that, then we can just change the connection, update the connection points, but the
Hmm.
main piece of the custom built logic can stay the
Yeah.
same.
Yep.
And another big piece to that is that we might start with this little middleware piece, but then grow it and expand it all across the
Yep.
organization. And the beautiful part there is that now, because we give people the source code, they own it. And
Hmm.
it now is something that changes from paying a per seat license every month to actually owning this piece of technology, which then in the long term really helps them because it increases their enterprise value.
Hmm.
It's now they own a IP, and because they're tech enabled, it increases their multiple. So
Hmm.
you have in two ways that it really increases the value of that company, and they oftentimes then get on the radar of private equity firms that suddenly become very interested because they see the tech enabled solution.
Hmm. Um, yeah, so I often describe that as kind of a normalization layer where you kind of have that layer in between that allows you to bolt things on to those other solutions. And I would imagine that as you talk to people, you're probably helping them develop maybe their technology roadmap, and you might be you might be doing maybe creating this process today that helps human resources. Let's say, for example, with new hires and terms. So maybe you're doing a little app that does that today, but then tomorrow maybe you're doing an inventory piece, or you're doing some kind of a order management piece. But these can all be considered as modules, right? You can develop these different modules that maybe interface with a larger ERP system, but you've kind of created these modular components that bolt on the side of that and really help them get more value out of that ERP tool than they might be receiving today,
Yep, and do certain things that the ERP might not be able
right?
to do or might be really complex to do within that ERP.
Do you find often, so one of the things that I find in some of the businesses I talk to is they might have done a large scale, like an ERP implementation, and they're probably using like 25% of that tool, right? They're
Oh,
not
yeah.
using that whole tool. And if they know and integrate with somebody like yourselves, now they can in a more in a maybe a more accessible way, maybe in a more user friendly way, kind of, even though I guess it's replication, but kind of um, uh, get more out of that tool because they're simplifying the process of using those features and
Yeah.
whatnot, and you can
Yeah.
integrate in those hooks,
And that's a very common issue that,
right?
for one, just lack of education, people just don't know how to use certain tools, but
Right.
also that a lot of those tools, the UX, the user interface and user experience are just not very pretty or
Yeah.
not very usable
Right.
or just easy to guess and understand. I mean, I'll give Salesforce, poor Salesforce as an example. That great tool has much, like lots of great backbone, but it's so hard to use. Even people that
Right.
know it
Right.
struggle at times.
Hmm.
And that's something where, yeah, maybe we'll use some of the data schemes so they still have it and have some data in there. But then also someday they might say we no longer want to use it, and then already they have a lot built that they can leverage, and that
Hmm.
helps them to move away from it. And
Right.
that's where it really like just building a beautiful interface that can just tie into the API is what makes our solutions really powerful
Hmm.
for the customer.
Hmm. And I heard earlier in your introduction. I think you were mentioning that you do iOS type development. So I would assume that you're able to kind of almost create a suite of applications. So in other words, maybe somebody in one part of the business needs to sit at a workstation and they have a couple monitors and they're interfacing that way. But maybe somebody's more mobile and they need to be able to use a phone app to input data into the app or to capture data pieces. So you can create a whole suite of you can create a
Yep.
tool using a suite of different I don't want to say applications but
Yeah.
platforms, in other words,
Yep. And
or an
that's
iPad
like
or something,
exactly. For us, that's just different tools on our tool belts.
right?
Is be it that it's an iOS or an Android app or an iPad app or other tablets or web version, or sometimes it's just a web app that's being rendered on all of them, and sometimes it's a native app. And
Hmm.
that's various tools. And now sometimes it is a chat interface. That's the newest tool on that belt
Hmm.
because we do a lot of AI work.
I was just
And
going to say, and
there,
then AI rears its head. So
exactly. I
so
mean,
yeah, let's talk a little bit about AI and how you're using AI in that space. I mean, like what verticals, I guess, do you service certain verticals? Is it really
it's
everything, or
very agnostic. It's I joke that yeah, we serve just the specific verticals that use Excel.
right? Exactly. Yeah.
Just about every one of
Yeah.
them.
As long as it's everyone, we help them.
Yeah, yeah. And sure, there is some concentrations around manufacturing,
Hmm.
construction, logistics, some of those.
Hmm.
That's one part. But then it's also really focused on where we can help the most. And a little bit in companies, I mean, it's better if a company is larger, is like at least 50 to 100 employees
Hmm.
because we can just help more. There's definitely three people in there that we can free them from most of the busy work and, and
Hmm.
let allow them to do what they're much more passionate about
Hmm.
or what they are also more useful and productive for the organization. So that's sort of from the size perspective, more a
Hmm.
differentiator or limiter. But then we also, a separate sort of service is that we do AI adoption and AI strategy for companies. And there they can be of almost any size because that's in this world and age right now, it's no longer limited that certain businesses need to be able to use AI. That's almost really every business that needs to get on the wagon. Otherwise, they're on a street that's going to go off the
Hmm.
cliff, and there's other companies that will
Right.
replace them that are using AI.
Recently, I had an opportunity to kind of lead a technology discussion at a regional conference, and and it was for CEOs, well, C-suite, C-level leaders, and um, everybody has AI on their, like it's on their mind. They have questions about it. So the biggest question I got was, so what about AI? That's kind of a hard question to answer. I mean, that's pretty broad. Do you run into that where you're seeing that executive leadership or company leadership a lot of times they have this sense, kind of a FOMO, fear of missing out thing going on. They know that there's a powerful tool here to help them, but maybe they don't know how to even ask about it or where to go with it. And are you finding yourself as
Yeah.
an educator in a lot of that?
Yep. And we do, I mean, for twofold, we provide one of the things we do is we have a community event, AI on Quark, that we host every last Wednesday of the month.
Hmm.
And it's something that we host here locally in South Florida. Anyone's welcome to come to that. It's at our office with different speakers every month, just educating the community and bringing more of that to South Florida. But we also live stream it. You miss out on the networking, but you can do, at least you can listen in. We do it on LinkedIn Live.
Hmm.
We put it up and share it afterwards. That's from an education. For companies specifically, we also help them educate because the answer is really yes. Like, so what about AI? Yes,
Hmm.
you need to get into it in some way, shape, or form.
Hmm.
And there, it's often a good amount of education piece because you can't just sort of wing it and or think about, oh yeah, I'll sign up for these 17 tools and then you're good. No, you gotta put some strategy behind it.
Right.
So we help people on, we have a free readiness assessment that we share where
Hmm.
people can sort of see where am I at right now, and then let's get together and build that strategy that over the next 3, 6, 12 months gets you in a better state because and it's not a 5 year strategy because God knows where AI is at in 5 years. We
Right.
might be, we might have gotten to the
Right.
AGI stage.
Yeah.
So let's plan a little quicker so that you are also that our clients
Right.
are in a better state quickly so they can leverage everything new that comes out and that improves it.
I find in a lot of cases it's giving people the language to describe what they need, like and helping because you know they don't have the language yet to synthesize and articulate what they need or what they are looking for in their business. They haven't fully contemplated, what it means. Maybe they have a few people who are using an AI tool to write a simple email or,
Yeah.
create, like you said, create a spreadsheet or something. But
And
they haven't contemplated what it means to have an AI based tool, m- like managing their sales channel, and kind of the things that it can do to automate that. Are you running into that where organizations are using those tools to kind of make decisions, understand and interpret maybe what's in an email queue, is the sales, is the support, those types of things, or what kinds of things are you mostly seeing implemented on the AI front in business right now?
it that there it varies a lot, and that's
Right.
that's where it comes in that we're not an organization that popped up 3 months ago as a new AI consultant, like I'm seeing a lot of,
Yeah.
but we've been around for almost 13 years, well over a decade. And we've actually been in AI for a good portion of that. I focused my master's back in 2013, 14 on AI. That's been a hot minute, but
Hmm.
AI existed already back then. It hasn't only existed since Gen AI as a thing. So important there is that we're seeing everything from, oh, I want to automate this little workflow, and all they need is, hey, we'll set you up a N8N instance so you can run it on your own machine or on your own cloud account and have unlimited use of it, just to that, all the way to, all right, we'll build you some complex solutions that use machine learning, computer vision. Like on our website, you'll see one of our portfolio pieces for ZF Ramp Assist, which is a backup park solution for boats getting back on a trailer. So similar to your like
Hmm.
park assist camera in the car, this is for a boat and finding its way back on the trailer, which is a lot more complex on the water than it is standing on the street because movement goes in all sorts of ways and you have reflection on the water, you have winds, like all sorts of things play a matter and role in there. And those are things that, yeah,
I need an app to help me back my fifth wheel RV camper into a parking spot in a campground. So my wife and I don't need to butt heads. Yeah, keep coming back. Right over the neighbor's dog.
oh
Anyway.
no.
But yeah, no, it's super interesting to me to see the way businesses are thinking about it, right? Because it is soup to nuts, like you said. It's like, oh, I want to use it to help me generate a simple email to, how do I make my robots talk to each other? And even like like I don't know. I'm not even gonna say preventative maintenance, predictive maintenance.
Yep.
Things and like inventory management. Like I know I have to order these things because I have this much in my pipeline. Just those types of things where in the past you know some dude used to walk out in the backyard and say, "Oh yeah, we have 17 rolls of wire here. We need to have 25," and they'd go order it. Well, now they can quantify it, right? Now they know about that and AI can help them with that.
And that's where it's beautiful that we have the talent on the team that can do so much more than just, oh, I'll integrate OpenAI API or Perplexity or Claude or Gemini API, which that's really simple. It's just calling an API, which is the same as calling any other API.
Hmm.
But we also have the data scientists and the AI engineers that can build a computer vision or machine learning model, a deep learning model that can do so much more
Hmm.
for a company specifically if they have those more unique needs and are aware of what that can do so that for something like you're mentioning, it might be a logistics problem, a scheduling problem, a pathfinding. It's so many things that can be solved by developing something very unique and specific.
Right. Um, yeah, I mean, even a couple of folks I've worked with, one of the problems they're trying to solve is just how to get trucks to loading docks, right? And that's a great tool because even predictively estimating how long a truck is going to be at a given dock, so you can queue trucks up, those types of things. So yeah, yeah, it's such
There's
an
so many
interesting.
fun
It
solutions.
Yeah, there's so many solutions, and
And there's so much more that is now possible that just wasn't even possible
yeah.
before at the feasible rate. I'll give one example. We built a platform years ago to scrape and parse a lot of invoices, to get the data
Hmm.
out of invoices, analyze them, compare them to their contracts, and see if the invoice was violating the contract, if it was charging too much, increasing the price by more than what was allowed.
Hmm.
And that was something that needed a lot of manual parsing back then. Now, LLMs can do a good amount of that baseline parsing so that you can have much larger coverage right away. And
Hmm.
then it's still good to do something in order to get, if you need a high percent of confidence that the result is right, I wouldn't just trust whatever the LLM spits out because more times than I care to have endured or enjoyed,
Hmm.
I will give a response and say, no, that's not quite what was in there.
Hmm.
And the LLM, like a ChatGPT or so, will come back and say, oh, yeah, you're right. Yeah, that's not the right answer, but here, I'll try again. And it would
Hmm.
still be wrong. So it's not something that I would run a system on if I know I need to have like a 90, 95, 98, 99% confidence. But if I'm good with 60 to 80% for a rough first go through, then it's pretty good.
Hmm.
And especially this can serve for maybe there's like in this problem, we had like 30, 40, 50 different vendors to parse invoices from. We started with the ones that are the vast majority
Hmm.
and build something for them. So today it would be possible, yes, maybe do something specific for those, but then have the generic AI solution for all the others that figures it out.
Hmm. And one of the things, I mean, I think that we kind of hear the werewolves in the closet thing about, nobody's going to have jobs. And I think the point where we're at now is like, it's a force multiplier for sure. I don't know. I don't know that it's at a point of being necessarily a force eliminator. I mean, you can use it to, do more with less, but it's also creating new opportunities, I think,
For sure.
and so I think net it's close to even, right? I think it has the potential to do a lot more, you know,
Yeah.
but I don't, like you said, I don't know that we're there quite yet. I think certain verticals or certain industries or certain careers might have challenges. Like, maybe if you're a scheduler of
Yep.
people, that seems like something that's pretty automatable. But, it just seems like it presents more possibilities than negatives in my mind.
Yep. And that's I think a common thing in history that we can't like if we're trying right now to see what are all the jobs that will be created, it's similar to if you in the when the steam engine was invented, if you try to explain to someone back then that there's going to be millions of people working as software engineers, they would be
Hmm.
like, what? They're gonna
Yeah,
sit at the keyboard and make large amounts of money just punching in characters. That is
yeah,
wild.
yeah.
Because that's now a job that some people are like, oh, I mean, they tell me, oh, all your software engineers are going to be automated away by AI. Well, not quite yet. Like, we're not
It'll
quite.
change. There's not a lot of wagon wheel repair guys around anymore. But there's other people, right?
Yep,
People who, maybe we're not building stagecoaches, but we are building Teslas. I don't know.
exactly.
It just changes. So I
Yep.
think
And
that
it's just hard to imagine for someone from that time to think about all the future opportunities. That's why I make that drastic example. Someone back then wouldn't have imagined software engineer that that's even on the list of, yes, there's going to be people
yeah,
writing code as their job. They were like, what? No, that's you do work
yeah,
with your hands.
it's so interesting. Like in March, I did a presentation to a business networking group, and we talked about AI at that time. And most of the people in that group had used it to generate an email, right? They had used it to do simple stuff like that, right? Well, just this week, I presented to the same group. My cycle came around again. I presented to the same group. Now, pretty much everybody has used it to create documents, create Excel spreadsheets, to do things like that. It's interesting to see just in like 4 months the change of how we've gone from okay, generate a simple email to now they're actually creating documents with formulas in them. And while that's not, that's not monkey to man evolution, um, it is an interesting step just in 4 months, right? I mean, it is, like I said, it made me take a step back and go, wow, that's pretty interesting. This group of people who, they're solopreneurs, but they're using it in their everyday lives now, right? And just how much it's permeated into what, like, people's just everyday groove, right? It's just part of your vibe now. So that was in just in a short period of time. Kind of interesting to see that
Yeah.
happening.
I
So
gave a talk yesterday and I like doing this in the beginning. I say, all right, who of you has used AI today? And I used to say it like this week or this month, but now I can really sometimes I start so with this
right,
month. this week, who's still today. And then I contrast to, all right, what do you think if I had asked that question 2, 3 years ago? How many hands would have gone up for
Right.
this month?
Right.
Barely any. Now it's almost unanimous. It's almost the entire room for today
Right.
that they've used AI in some way, shape, or form today. And sometimes it's not even, they're not counting all the ways that they don't even know
They don't,
about.
yeah, don't even contemplate some of the ways that they're using it. Right. Right. Which is interesting because, like when I'm talking to business, a lot of times I kind of throw the reminder out there that, if you're not paying for it, you don't own it. And so what that kind of means is like, even though maybe you're not paying for it in your business today, you don't have something licensed, um, your employees are probably using it. And how are they using it? They're using it to get ahead of their coworkers, right? They're trying to use it as a competitive advantage so they can either do more faster or do it better or whatever it is. They're probably using it today, right? So,
Yeah,
thinking about having a licensed tool there and a policy around it to keep that data safe and
exactly.
protected, is something that's important and relevant now. And even like if I'm talking to customers who are in a HIPAA space, I'm
Oh,
reminding them that they need to talk to their providers or their business partners to give like I just call it an attestation that they're AI compliant, that they're using HIPAA compliant practices within their space, so they don't have some analyst on their side putting your confidential data out there in the zeitgeist of the AI world. So, but it's a whole different way of thinking thing. And when I start asking the questions, the C-suite people, you can see the gears start to turn. Like, oh man, our data is doing this, and our data is doing
yeah.
that. And so I would imagine that you have people who can help advise on data governance too,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, on data governance, we're just drafting right now actually we want to make this part of our packages of free AI policy because that's like a core piece that everybody should have at least something in place they share with the employees. And here are some guidelines and guardrails because otherwise it's, as you said, it's just out
Hmm.
there. And if you put no rules around it, then people are just going to sign up, use the free version of a bunch of
Hmm.
things, but not be aware that for pretty much every tool, at least when you pay, but sometimes even without paying, you have the ability to turn off the training aspect so
Right,
that you're not just giving out your data or your customer's data or HIPAA data, even worse,
right,
uh, in order to use it for training.
right. Are you seeing people use certain tools more than certain other tools? I know there's strengths and weaknesses and whatnot. Do you see certain tools, ChatGPT, Copilot, all of
Yeah,
those? Are you
I
seeing
see.
more of some than the others, or is it pretty
Yeah,
equal?
I
What do you
see a
see?
lot more. I mean, ChatGPT still is holding the market pretty firmly, from what I've seen and from what clients have subscriptions to. Yes, there's some Gemini,
Mm-hmm.
and there's a good amount of people using Copilot because just they have their Microsoft 365 licenses. So
Mm-hmm.
why, like, of course they have Copilot, but they might still in addition have a ChatGPT
Mm-hmm.
subscription because they just have all their chats and they don't want to say goodbye
Right,
to whatever the chats are that they have, or the models, or how they talk to them, or all the custom GPTs that they've set up.
right. One of the things that I run into is that everybody's putting AI in their tools now, right? AI this, AI that. It's. Have you ever seen the movie Idiocracy?
No?
You need to watch a movie called Idiocracy, and in this movie, the plants of the world are dying because they're feeding it basically Gatorade. They're not doing water. They're like, well, why are you feeding it Gatorade? Well, because it has electrolytes and it's what a body craves, And this is what I get when I'm talking to businesses and they're exploring AI. So what does AI do for you? What are your vendors telling you? Well, it's got AI in it. Well, what does that mean? Well, it works with AI. Well, what does that mean? Well, it has
Yeah.
AI and it does artificial intelligence. Okay, so all of those answers have told me nothing, right? So do you help customers understand, and the way I describe it is help them understand what bullshit AI looks like? Because it's kind of like everybody's saying it. It's a buzzword now. People used to do that with security. It was a security werewolf. Now it's the AI. Everything has AI in it. And you help them understand where it is meaningful to have artificial intelligence implemented
Yep.
versus kind of just doing it. Like maybe I don't need an AI enabled, toilet paper dispenser in a bathroom. Maybe I do. I don't know. Probably, I don't know. I'm just saying, you know what I mean? It's like,
You
okay,
know, you
so
could do some
yeah,
calculation based on
as I think
session
about it, I'm like,
duration, how
you
many
probably could.
layers you
The
need, and
heavy
how.
you are, the more it comes out,
Yes, yeah.
whatever.
Well,
But do you
so
help them with that? Because it seems to me that it's become a buzzword, and that's one of the questions. I mean, they're burdened right now. They have so many people, 200, 300 phone calls a day selling them stuff. So
yeah,
how do they know what a valuable tool is?
I think the first question, so we help clients build out their AI strategy and what is needed because don't just buy AI for the sake of AI. You don't need AI for there being AI. To your example that you made exactly, no, that's not the answer. Just that there is AI, and there have been plenty examples where it's been faux AI, where they say there's AI, and then it's
Hmm.
just a bunch of mechanical Turks or some people in the background doing all
Yeah,
the
pay
mechanics.
no attention to the man behind the curtain.
Yep.
Yep.
So it's important to see why would I need AI? I mean, we had a similar wave when there was crypto and everybody was trying to use
Mm,
blockchain for the sake
that's
of
good.
using
Yep.
blockchain and
That's
being
a good
great.
example. Yep.
Uh, but now AI has a lot more intangible real use for a lot of tools, but it just needs to be with attention, like with intent of what is the thing we need. And by doing that, you can get to some good solutions and you can select the tools that you really need. So just when you hear that pitch, just think about what is it using AI for and what do you need AI for in there?
Hmm.
And then let's focus not on the fact if it has AI or not, because sometimes a simple if else filter is all that it needs,
Right.
and or it needs something just good old simple automation. So it's more the focus on, all right, what does it really need? And then if it solves it by using AI, great, but you don't really need to care. You
Do you
just care that it solves your problem.
Right, right. In your space, do you see times, and I was talking to somebody about this, and they didn't have, I'm not a developer, I'm not a software engineer, so I was asking this question of someone and they didn't have an answer. But did you see a time where the use of artificial intelligence or AI tools really, I'm going to describe it as thins down the code base. So in other words, I don't need to have this large, receptacle of legacy code sitting someplace. Maybe I have some code, but I'm using AI to dynamically generate code based on parameters that are coming in. So I'm not, like I said, I don't have to have this huge repository of legacy code. All of a sudden, now I have a much smaller repository with some AI prompting in there, and it's dynamically generating that code based on things that are happening around it. Do you see something like that happening, or am I just a maniac? I might
No,
just be a maniac. You can say
I mean all of the above, but
that.
it's I think yeah, there's some simplification. Uh, what scares me a lot is a lot of people now vibe coding, and
Yeah,
it is great for building a little MVP, like a little proof of concept, and
right,
showing
right,
what they really want to build. But then releasing that to the wild and into production is fun and
right.
scary. And I'm sure from the security angle, you guys also see it that you're like, oh, dear Lord,
Right.
this is
Well,
interesting.
from a business continuity perspective, and even like, I kind of was talking to a business leader about it and the whole concept of vibe coding. And they're like, yeah, I could just type this in and get this. Like, okay, then so what? Like I talk about the so what step. So, okay, you
Yeah.
vibe coded this thing. It's sitting there. The code's on your machine. Well, now what are you going to do with it? You know what I mean? And they don't know. So how do you get it to be how do you have persistence and continuity with it? How do you get predictable results? And that
Yep.
was oh yeah. So vibe coding and the concept of it kind of sounds like a cool idea, right? But when you start thinking about how do I make it persistent in my business, then then some gaps show up for me in that.
Yep.
And that's where they
And
need to
how do
have,
you make it maintainable?
yeah,
Because
right,
I've seen it often enough where you give one more prompt for another iteration and it suddenly thinks, oh yeah, we don't need all of these features. I'll strip those out. That'll clean up the code base. we don't need, it's like writing a book and you're trying to change the character's name, or no, just the place in chapter 5, but at the same time, it then also decides chapters 17 to 23 are no longer
Yeah,
necessary. Let's
yeah,
get
we don't
rid
need
of
that.
those.
Well, it's kind of like the whole discussion around AI, and you ask AI to cure cancer, well, then it kills everyone with cancer. Well, that didn't really help, but it cured it. So it's the unintended consequence. So, yeah, yeah, for sure, it's kind of crazy stuff. So, where do you see all this going? Where do you see, your business in the next three to 5 years?
So I think there's a lot happening, especially towards the 5 versus the 3 years. I mean,
Hmm.
ASI and AGI are on the horizon. The Singularity is somewhere on the horizon. We have a lot of exciting things in our lifetimes coming up. In that shorter term, the next 2 3 years, maybe 5 years, I see that still software engineers, for example, still necessary.
Hmm.
Especially, I think there was a lot of hype of sort of when we saw what's happening from ChatGPT 3 to 4, but then when we saw what happened from 4 to 5, there was just the expectation was that this jump will happen, and really this jump happened.
Hmm.
So I think there is still the need over the next years. But the very short-term immediate need I see, and this is why we have a little interesting announcement coming up about our AI consulting arm that we're spinning out, that there's a lot of businesses that they just need action right now. And they need action on how do I best adopt AI? What should be my strategy? How do I select between those 200 vendors that are calling me on what's really useful, and how do I vet out what's the best next step in order to get to really a good stage versus just signing up for a bunch of tools that then don't talk to each other and just create more of a mess rather than
Right,
less of it.
right,
So that's one of our focus points, to help a lot of organizations that way of just here's a good path. How ready are you for AI? Because it's also useless to try and do a lot of data science solutions if most of your data is still on paper and in a filing cabinet.
right,
Let's get you first digitized,
right,
do some digital transformation, and then enter the era of now let's do data analysis on all of it.
right. Yeah. It's crazy stuff. Are you out there on social media anywhere? If somebody wanted to get a hold of you or follow you, how would they go about doing it? What's the best way to do that? And
So
I,
I would
and
say
I'll put it on the screen too so that people can see it.
yeah, check out our website. It's really nice and short. It's tsl.io for, there we go, the silver
Logic.
logic .io, nice and short. And you can find the same, just the name in itself. Oh, this is so hard. Uh, the name itself is, you'll find us at ServerLogic or at the ServerLogic on LinkedIn, on Instagram, on X, wherever, on Facebook, wherever you want to engage with us.
Hmm.
You can find us. So we can show the handles maybe. And
Hmm.
if you want to just email me, it's dh at the ServerLogic, or dh at tsl.io, to just reach out and let's chat.
Very good. Yeah, because we do have a lot of business people who watch this and who get pieces of this. So I feel like you're going to get some contacts out of it because it's such a wide open place and people really need help. So it's awesome. Very good,
Awesome.
David. Well, I appreciate your time today. Great session.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you ever get bored and you want to come up to Minnesota and stand out on a frozen lake sometime, let me know and we can make that happen.
I'll give you a holler.
All right, sir. Very good. Well, thank you for your time. Appreciate it very much.
Awesome. Have
All
a good
right.
one.
Take care, sir. Bye bye.
Bye.